I never thought I'd be one of those guys who ends up here, but here I am, laying it all out because maybe someone needs to hear this. My name's Jake, and I was with Emily for about 3 years before we were set to get married. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we had something solid. She was smart, bitchy sometimes, but I liked her fire. We were planning our wedding, and honestly, I was excited. I thought I knew everything about her, her dreams, her ambitions, her favorite Netflix shows, the way she liked her coffee, but I had no idea what was really going on behind my back. From the start, I noticed little things that didn't sit right. Emily started canceling plans last minute, saying she was busy at work or stressed. She'd get a little defensive if I asked too many questions. Small stuff, really, but enough to make me wonder. She'd also get these weird, hurried calls late at night, whispering and quickly hanging up when I'd walk into the room. At first, I brushed it off, thinking she was just stressed about the wedding or work. But the gut feeling kept gnawing at me. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I found her phone. She was out with her sister, Sarah, and I decided to check her texts out of curiosity. I know sounds creepy, but I was just trying to understand what was going on. What I saw hit me like a ton of bricks. There were messages from someone I didn't know talking about seeing her tonight. Can't wait to be with you, and don't worry, I'll take care of everything. The guy's name was Mark. I looked up his number later. He was her boss, a guy who's about 15 years older with a reputation for being a bit of a womanizer. I felt my stomach drop. I kept digging. There were dozens of texts, some flirty, some downright dirty, over the past few months. The worst part, they'd been sneaking around while she was supposedly focused on the wedding and making plans with my family. She'd even told her sister she was under so much pressure at work, but now I realized she was probably seeing Mark in secret, using her work trips as cover. I was furious and heartbroken all at once. How could she lie so effortlessly? She'd been so bitchy about trust issues before, but she was the one betraying me. I didn't sleep that night, just sat there staring at the screen trying to process what I'd found. The next day I confronted her. I kept it simple. Emily, I know about Mark. I found the text messages. How long has this been going on? She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, like I was bothering her. Jake, you're overreacting. It's nothing, just some work thing, I swear. You're making a big deal out of nothing. She tried to brush it off, but I could tell she was lying. Her voice was shaky, her eyes darting around, and she kept insisting she did nothing wrong. I told her I saw the messages, and she still lied, saying I was misreading things, that I was paranoid. That's when I knew she was a master liar, or maybe I was just naive for so long. But I wasn't going to let her walk all over me. My mind started racing. I thought about everything: the wedding plans, her bitchy attitude, the times I ignored my gut just because I loved her. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, and yet part of me wanted to confront her, call her out, make her face what she'd done. But I also knew I had to be smart, to plan my next move carefully, because the betrayal was just the start. What came after would be the real test. After that confrontation, everything changed. Emily kept insisting it was all a mistake, that Mark was just some guy she had to work with, and that I was blowing things out of proportion. She threw in some classic lines. You don't trust me. It's not what you think, and you're just insecure. Honestly, it was exhausting listening to her spin her lies. I could see the bitchy little smirk she always had when she thought she was winning an argument, and it made me want to scream. I decided I couldn't just take her word for it. I needed proof, something concrete that wouldn't let her spin her way out. So I started digging deeper. I checked her call logs, her social media, even her email. Nothing concrete there, but then I remembered the hotel bills I'd seen a few weeks ago. I'd brushed past them, thinking she was just staying out late for work. But then I remembered how she'd gotten super defensive when I asked her about her whereabouts that week. She snapped at me, said I was being paranoid, that I didn't trust her. That's when I realized I needed to look more closely. One night, I decided to snoop her phone again, just to see if I could find anything else. I was careful not to get caught. That's when I found it: hotel receipts buried deep in her email trash folder. I couldn't believe my eyes. She'd been staying at a luxury hotel downtown, right in the city, with Mark. I saw dates that lined up perfectly with the messages and her excuses about working late. The receipts showed she'd been there multiple nights, sometimes just a few days apart. It wasn't some work trip, it was her secret rendezvous. I sat there stunned, feeling the rage boiling inside me. This wasn't just some fling or a mistake. It was months of lies, months of her sneaking around behind my back. And the worst part, she was so damn good at hiding it. I'd been blind to it the whole time. She'd play the sweet wife, the caring partner, but behind my back she was with her boss, having sex, probably laughing at how stupid I'd been to trust her. I knew I had to confront her again. This time I wasn't going to hold back. I waited until she got home that evening. She was acting normal, trying to act like everything was fine. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I pulled out the hotel receipts and laid them on the table. "Explain this," I said coldly. Her face drained of color. She tried to deny it, but her lies fell apart faster than she could spin them. She said it was nothing, that she'd only met Mark a few times for drinks, that it meant nothing. She even had the nerve to call me jealous, to tell me I was insecure for doubting her. I felt like I'd been punched again, but this time I was furious. How could she lie so openly? How could she betray me like this, right before we were supposed to get married? I'd never felt so hurt, so stupid for trusting someone. I told her. She was done, that I wasn't going to be played the fool anymore. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, trying to pretend she was the victim, that I was the one overreacting. That's when I knew I needed to plan my next move carefully. Because if she was willing to lie this blatantly, what else was she capable of? The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, smug, confident, lying through her teeth. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. How could she do this to me? We had plans, a future, and she was out there, screwing her boss like she was some kind of star in her own little affair movie. I kept replaying everything she'd said, her excuses, her bullshit about work stress and being misunderstood. It only made me angrier. I wanted to make her pay, but I also knew I had to think clearly. So I started mapping out my options. I couldn't just storm into her and scream accusations again. What good would that do? I needed to think smarter. I decided I'd wait, watch her, and see if she slipped up again. Meanwhile, I contacted a private investigator I knew from work. I knew it was extreme, but I needed proof, something undeniable. I wanted to catch her red-handed if possible. I didn't want to just believe her lies, I wanted certainty. While I was waiting, Emily's behavior became interesting. She started getting even more bitchy, snapping at me for the smallest things, accusing me of not trusting her, as if I was the one who had been unfaithful. She'd call me paranoid, accuse me of trying to control her, and then storm out, acting like I was the villain. Honestly, I'd never seen her like this before. It was like she was panicking, maybe realizing she was close to getting caught or that I wasn't going to take her bullshit anymore. One night she left her phone unattended and I couldn't resist. I snuck a peek. I saw more texts, more from Mark, more lies. But what really caught my attention was a secret message she had saved in her notes app. It was a plan, details about their next rendezvous, times, places, even how to cover their tracks if she got caught. She'd written, "If Jake finds out, pretend I was just helping a friend with some work stuff, and make sure I have an alibi." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. This wasn't some innocent affair. This was calculated, manipulative, and she was willing to lie her way out of everything. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to see her with my own eyes. I told the pie to follow her to see where she was going after work. That night I sat alone in the living room, heart pounding, waiting for the call. When the phone finally rang, I almost didn't answer. It was the pie, and he told me she just checked into that hotel again with Mark. They'd been there for hours. I felt my world shattering again. All this time I'd been a fool, trusting her, planning a future that was just a lie. I thought about confronting her again, but this time I knew I had to be smarter. I had the proof and I was ready. When she finally came home that night, I was waiting in the dark. As she walked through the door, I showed her the evidence. The receipts, the messages, her secret plan, and her notes. Her face twisted in anger and disbelief. She yelled, calling me a jealous fool, saying I was paranoid again. I just looked at her and said, "It's over. I'm done pretending I don't know the truth." She spat back some worthless lie about not meaning anything, but I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. The confrontation that night was like a dam breaking. Emily's bitchy facade cracked completely. She started yelling, calling me every name in the book, controlling, insecure, and crazy. She tried to gaslight me, saying I was overreacting. That Mark was just a fling, that I was ruining everything because I couldn't handle her success or her independence. She had the nerve to cry, to make herself look like the victim, but I could see right through her act now. I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. Relief because I finally had confirmation, and rage because she'd lied to my face for months, betrayed everything we supposedly stood for. I told her I wasn't going to stay around and be a punching bag for her bullshit anymore. I told her I was done, that I was leaving her, that I deserved better than a cheating, manipulative wife. She kept pleading, crying, trying to make me feel guilty, saying she loved me, that Mark was just a mistake, that she'd never hurt me if I just forgave her. But I wasn't buying it. All I could feel was disgust. Disgust for her lies, for her betrayal, for the way she used to bitch about trust issues when she was the one breaking all the trust. I packed a bag that night with everything I needed and I left. I didn't want to look back. I knew I'd have to start over, rebuild myself from the wreckage she'd left behind. But I also knew I wanted to be free of her, to get rid of the pain and the lies. In the days that followed, I felt like a shell of myself. The house was empty, silent. I was trying to process the shock, the anger, the sadness. I kept replaying everything in my head, how she lied, how she cheated, how she sat there and blamed me for everything. It was so clear now how manipulative she'd been, how she'd convinced herself she was untouchable, that she could do whatever she wanted and I'd just accept it. That illusion was shattered forever. I told my friends what had happened, and some of them said I was crazy for sticking around that long, for not seeing it sooner. Maybe, but I loved her. I wanted to believe she'd change, that we could work through it. But she proved me wrong in the worst way. Now I only have one decision to make, whether to try to fix myself and move on, or to try to fight for something that's clearly broken beyond repair. Honestly, I don't know what's worse, staying and pretending it didn't happen or leaving everything behind. I feel lost, betrayed, and honestly pretty broken. After I left her that night, everything changed. I thought I'd feel relief, but mostly I just felt hollow. My mind kept racing through everything: her lies, the sex with Mark, her bitchy smirk when she tried to deny it all. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it sooner, how I'd been so blind to the signs. For months I'd been trying to make things work, convincing myself she was stressed or just acting out. But in reality, she was sneaking behind my back with her boss, laughing at me for being so stupid. The worst part was the betrayal, not just her cheating but her attitude afterward. She refused to admit she did anything wrong, kept calling me paranoid or insecure, like I was the crazy one. She'd send angry texts, accusing me of ruining everything, of not trusting her, while she was out screwing her boss. It was a nightmare. Every time I tried to talk about what she did, she'd turn it around and make me feel like I was the one overreacting, like I was the villain. I knew I had to do something big if I was going to move on. I reached out to a lawyer, started looking into my options. I wasn't married yet, but I wanted to be prepared. I knew I was going to have to fight for everything, my dignity, my peace of mind, and I didn't want her to get away with this. I also reached out to a few close friends who knew about the situation, just so I'd have some support. Honestly, I felt like I was drowning, but I also felt determined. I refused to let her destroy me completely. One thing I did that helped a lot was cut contact, blocked her on everything. No calls, no texts, no social media. I needed space to breathe, to think. Every time I saw her name flashing on my phone, my stomach twisted. I wanted to reach out to ask her why she did it, but I knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. She'd lied so much I couldn't trust anything she said anymore. I had to focus on myself, the process of healing, of rebuilding what she'd tried to destroy. It's not easy, and honestly, I don't know if I'll ever fully get over it, but I know I can't keep living in that betrayal. I've got to find a way to move forward, even if it means starting all over from scratch. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole thing has changed me, how I've become a different person because of her betrayal. I used to believe in happily ever afters, in trust and love that could survive anything, but that illusion was shattered. What I learned is that some people are just not who they seem to be, and sometimes you only see it when it's too late. I've had to face the fact that love isn't enough to fix everything. Sometimes it's just not enough to hold on when the other person is actively working against you. The pain still lingers, yeah. I won't pretend it's easy to forget the nights I lay awake, replaying her lies and imagining what could have been. But I've also come to see that this experience, as shitty as it was, has made me stronger. I don't trust her anymore, and that's a good thing. I've learned to listen to my gut. I've learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away before you get completely crushed. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the signs. Don't convince yourself it's just a rough patch or that they'll change. If you have evidence, whether it's a hotel bill or a secret plan, that someone is betraying you, trust it. And don't be afraid to walk away. It's going to hurt, but staying in a lie will hurt even more in the long run. You deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares about you, not someone sneaking around, lying, and laughing behind your back. I'm still healing, still trying to put all the pieces back together, but I know I'll be okay. Maybe someday I'll find someone who actually values me, who's honest from the start. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, learning from the pain, and never letting anyone treat me like I'm disposable. Because in the end, betrayal taught me what real loyalty looks like, and what I absolutely won't accept again.